limits on fur bears, the Minister of Forestry and Parks has done something no other minister has done. He's opened up unlimited trapping for wolverines, species at risk. The minister has said this is to get more data about how many there are, but what? Seems to me like a dead wolverine doesn't have much to share about how many live wolverines there are. This approach to estimating population isn't like any I, as a wildlife biologist, have ever heard of. Can the minister please enlighten us as to what kinds of data will be collected by lifting bag limits on wolverine trapping?
The Honourable Minister of Forestry and Parks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's a joy to actually talk about wolverines. This might be the first time in the legislature we've had to have this discussion, but what we found with the wolverine quota that was in place when the NDP were in government is that it had no basis. We had a wolverine quota where there were no wolverines, and we had a limited quota where there was lots of wolverines. So, Minister, that was indefensible. So we were sitting there with a quota of more wolverines than actually exist in the province. So the quota meant nothing. It was indefensible. The NDP couldn't defend it when they were in power, and we couldn't either. So now we've got rid of that.
The Honourable Member for Banff-Kananaskis.
Well, given that removing the bag limits isn't defensible either, Mr. Speaker, given that wolverines have low population densities, which has led to concerns about previous limits, given that for the last 15 years, researchers in Alberta and BC have worked very hard to estimate wolverine populations, and they've suggested there are less than 1,000 wolverines in Alberta. Given that there are 1,600 trap lines in Alberta, if each trap line caught even one wolverine, we'd likely eliminate the population. How can the minister justify yet another decision putting species at risk further at risk?
The Honourable Minister of Forestry and Parks.
And just like I said, the quota was higher than the number of wolverines, which meant it wasn't defensible. And if we look at BC has no quota, and so we have trappers with a lot of wolverines, and just across the border, an imaginary line, there's no quota. Mr. Speaker, when we collect data from the trappers of Alberta, 1,600 trappers in Alberta that can go around the province, and they can provide us with more data, more information for wolverines so we can properly manage them and come up with a system that actually makes sense and is defensible.
The Honourable Member for Banff-Kananaskis.
Given it seems the minister has written the 4th chapter in his book about wildlife management, which is like, don't like the standard methodology? Make up your own. Given that the public service is currently reviewing the latest research to write a status report, which will result in wolverines being listed as threatened, given that the first step in recovering any species at risk is limiting human-caused mortality, and I've received over 200 emails just this weekend from Albertans protesting the trapping of wolverines, and an online petition has 1,700 signatures already. Can the minister explain why he doesn't want to listen to science experts or Albertans?
Order. The Honourable Minister of Forestry and Parks.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. And yes, we want to be able to collect that data too, which is why we have 1,600 trappers in Alberta that will be providing us information on the wolverines, and that's how the past studies in Alberta have been done, with information for the trappers of Alberta. It's only the registered trappers in Alberta, which a lot of them, in fact, more than half of them, are First Nations trappers. We're going to listen to the trappers. We're going to collect the data from the people that are on the landscape, spending way more hours on than the member opposite is, that's for sure, and her biologist friends that have an ideology that they're focused on rather than the common sense management of wildlife, which is what the Alberta trappers want to do.